everyone! Welcome back to ANJ Bookminders Tutorials. So for today's discussion, we're going to discuss what is tax or what are taxes, what are the essential characteristic of taxes, what are the classification of our taxes, and as well as the distinguishment of taxes as to other types of license and or fees. Okay, for the taxes. How are we going to define our taxes? For the definition of taxes, we have this one. Ano ba yung tax? What is tax? Sabi nila, sa accounting, ang tax daw ay tinatawag natin na buwis. Tama naman. At ang sabi naman daw ng iba, they will call it buwisit. Okay? So nakakabuwisit daw yung part na syempre magbabayad ka. So yun yung kinaiinis ng iba dahil nga magbabayad sila ng taxes natin. So anyway, so let's move on. So ano ba daw yung tax na to na tinatawag nila na buwis at tinatawag din nila na buwisit? Okay. Ang sabi, taxes are enforced contribution levied by the state by virtue of its sovereignty on persons, properties, or rights within its jurisdiction for the support of the government and all public needs. Again, so this is the definition of tax. So it has similarities with regards to our definition of taxation. But for this definition, we are now precise to what is tax. Okay? Enforce. Again, taxes are being enforced by the government. Okay? Again, this is not based on the likes or dislikes of the taxpayer. Once you are covered by taxation, you must pay for the necessary taxes. Okay? Levied by the state by virtue of its sovereignty. Again, it is the Congress who can make, enact, or enforce these taxation laws. Okay? And on persons, properties, or rights. So we have discussed this on the definition of taxation, that the coverage of our taxes will be on the persons, not limited to the individual persons, but also to the partnership and corporation, and to the properties or rights. The rights are those privileges that is given to the people or the taxpayer of the government within its jurisdiction. Again, we have a territorial jurisdiction. The subject of taxation will only limited to our territorial jurisdiction. For the support of the government, again, there are lots of expenses for the government. So, these taxes being collected to the taxpayer are in support for the expenses of the government in all public needs. Okay, so the taxes are to be used for public purposes. Okay, for that, we move to the essential characteristics of tax. So ito daw po yung mga characteristics natin ng tax natin na binabayaran. But before we proceed with the essential characteristic of tax, let's have this one. Oops! Ang sabi, barkada. Diyan ako natututumambay. Umuwi ng late. Ayun. Makipag-away. Nakikipag-away ba? At makisama. Yun naman pala meron naman din positive side, no? Tapos sasabihin nila, barkada is bad influence. What? Okay? So yung iba kasi, di ba? Yung mga kabataan ngayon, ayan, sobrang lalapit nila sa mga barkada nila, halos sinuturing na talaga nila na pamilya yon. So sasabihin ka ng bad influence yung barkada. So tingnan natin. Iba't iba man kami ng katangian, napahamak man ako minsan, lahat yan di ko pinagsisihan. Dahil sa salitang yan, diyan ako naging masaya at natutong lumaban. Okay? So, yun naman pala, no? So, ano ba yung gusto nating ipaintindi dito sa may quote na to? Ang gusto nating ipaintindi dito ay bawat miyembro ng barkada ay may kanya-kanyang personalidad. May kanya-kanya silang mga karakteristik na tinatawag. So, merong mabait, of course, meron din naman dyan yung medyo pasaway, meron dyan yung malambing, meron dyan naman yung masungit. Okay? Iba-iba sila ng katangian. Pero, syempre, yung tinatawag natin na barkada, it is unity of those individuals. Okay? So, yun yung gusto nating sabihin dito with regards to the characteristics of taxes. So sa characteristics of taxes, we have enforced contribution, levied pursuant to legislative authority, proportionate in character, generally payable in money, levied on persons and properties within the jurisdiction of the state, levied and collected for public purpose, and commonly required to be paid at regular intervals. So these are the characteristics of our tax. Again, enforced contribution, not on the base, it is not based on the likes or dislikes of our taxpayer. So again, enforce, o pagka ikaw ay cover na ng taxation, you must pay for your contribution. Okay? Levied pursuant to a legislative authority. Again, ulit-ulitin natin that the taxation, that the taxes is being implemented or being collected by our government through the Congress. Okay? Sila kasi yung gumagawa ng batas natin with regards to the taxes na kukolektahin natin doon sa ating mga taxpayers. Okay? Proportionate in character. Sabi nga natin, it is based on if you are earning a higher income, of course, you will be paying for a higher tax. That is, dito kasi sa Pilipinas, meron tayong tinatawag na progressive rates, no? So, yun yung ginagamit natin sa payment for the taxes. So, later on, i-discuss natin yan doon sa may classification of taxes. Generally payable in money, okay? Sinabi dito, generally. So, kadalasan, pera ang ginagamit na pambayad natin dito. Kaya lang, may mga cases na si government kinukuha na pambayad na ng taxes yung mga personal or private property ng ating mga taxpayer. Yun naman yung mga cases na hindi sila makabayad in cash or in money doon sa ating government for their taxes. So, levied on persons and property within the jurisdiction of the state. Again, so we have the territorial jurisdiction. So, hindi natin pwedeng taxan yung hindi naman natin territory. Okay? So, dito lang tayo sa Pilipinas magpo-focus ng mga taxes na binabayaran natin. Levied and collected for public purposes. Tandaan natin, lahat ng collection of taxes is used for the public purposes or it is used for the public, for the general public. Okay? And lastly, it is commonly required to be paid at regular intervals. So again, so kung mapapansin ninyo, pagka na naging topic na natin yung payment of our taxes, so ang pagbabayad natin ng buwis ay pwedeng monthly, quarterly, annually. So yun yung mga cases kung saan meron tayong tinatawag na mga intervals. So later on, i-discuss natin yan. Meron kasi tayong tinatawag na quarterly percentage tax. So ito yung mga taxpayers natin that they are registered with the Bureau of Internal Revenue and they are paying for the percentage tax. Quarterly yung pagbabayad natin dyan. Meron naman tayong tinatawag na value-added tax. Sa value-added tax, meron tayong tinatawag na monthly payment of VAT natin. So, monthly ang pagbabayad natin ng value-added tax. And yung mga quarterly income tax return natin as well as the annual income tax return. So, yun yung tinatawag natin na merong regular interval. So, hindi kung kailan mo lang gusto magbayad, magbabayad ka ngayong araw, bukas magbabayad ka, so hindi. So, meron tayong intervals. Okay? So, that is basically the essential characteristics of our tax. Now, let us now move with our next topic, which is the nature and classification of tax. For this one, we have this. Yan. Kapag gwapo ang pinapawisan, hot daw. Okay? Kapag pangit, dugyot. Ay, ganun ba yun? Kapag gwapo ang patatu, astig. Kapag pangit, adik. Okay? Kapag gwapo ang tumitig, nakakakilig. Kapag pangit, manyakis. Okay? Kapag gwapo ang tumabi, soulmate agad. Okay? Kapag pangit, hold-upper. Okay? Nako, ano to? Lokohan? Okay? Nasaan ba yung ano dyan? Nasaan ba yung equality natin dyan? No? So anyway, gusto ko lang naman ditong ipaintindi dito is yung pagka-classify natin. Okay? Kasi tayo, di ba, as person, ayun naman ay nature talaga natin na minsan kapag tumingin tayo sa isang tao, So, ayan, kinaklasify na natin kaagad yan. Ano ba yan? Gwapo ba yan? Pangit ba yan? Maganda ba yan? Pangit ba yan? So, actually, siguro yun naman talaga yung nature natin, no? Pero anyway, so, ang gusto ko lang sabihin dito, dapat sana there is an equality. So, pantay-pantay sana yung pagtingin natin sa bawat isa, no? So, anyway, so gusto ko lang i-relate to dito sa ating discussion with regards doon sa ating classification. Kasi we are to classify our taxes as to subject matter or object. Okay? Yung taxes natin, pwede natin classify as personal, poll, or capitation. Ang sabi dito, it is or the tax of a fixed amount on individuals residing within a specified territory without regard to their property or occupation. Okay? So, meron daw tayong tinatawag na personal or poll or capitation tax. Okay? Ito, yung madalas natin tinatawag na mga sedula. Okay? Community tax certificate. So, yan yon, yung personal or poll or capitation tax natin. So, yung binabayaran natin sa ating barangay na sedula. Community tax certificate ang tawag na. Okay? So, we have the property. On the property, impose on property, whether real or personal, in proportion either to its value or in accordance with some other reasonable method of apportionment. Okay? So that is basically the taxes to the property. So ang example natin dito is yung real property tax natin na tinatawag. Okay? So yon, kinokolekta yan ni munisipyo or kaya ni City Hall o kaya ni Kapitolyo. Okay? Kung saan man nasasakop yung ating uh, property. And lastly, we have the excise tax. Okay? This is imposed upon the performance of an act, the enjoyment of a privilege, or engaging in an occupation. Okay? So, this one is because of the privilege that the government is giving us to practice our profession, to engage in business. Of course, we are in need to pay for the income taxes, okay, to our government. So, yun naman ang example ng ating excise tax. Okay? That is as to subject matter or object. Next, we move to as to who bear the burden. Okay? Sino ba dapat mag-bear noong burden natin sa pagbabayad ng taxes? So, we have direct. Okay? Kapag sinabi nating direct, the demand from person who are intended or bound by law to pay the tax. Okay? Sila mismo yung magbabayad ng tax natin. Hindi nila pwedeng ipasa sa ibang tao. For instance, ako, nagtatrabaho ako, o kaya ako ay may business. Okay? Yung income tax ko, ako lang yung pwedeng magbayad doon. Okay? Hindi pwedeng ilipat ko or i-transfer ko sa ibang tao. Okay? So, ako lang direct dapat yung aking classification with regards to payment of taxes. Sir, paano naman daw yung indirect? The indirect naman is one which the taxpayer can shift to another. O, pwede nating ilipat. Paano nating ililipat? So, hindi naman in the sense na kailangan mo siyang ibigay, no? So, ipinapasa. Katulad halimbawa kung may business ako. May business ako ng isang cellphone shop. Okay? Ngayon, yung cellphone na yun, vatable person ako. So, yung VAT na babayaran ko dapat doon sa aking pagbebenta sa inyo ng cellphone. So, ipinapatong ko doon yung 12% na VAT at kasama yung babayaran yun. So, kumbaga, nasi-shift yung pagbabayad ng VAT ako dapat pero napapasa ko doon sa may buyer. Okay? So that is basically as to who bears the burden. Next, we have as to the determination of amount. Okay? We have the specific. The specific is one imposed and based on a physical unit of measurement as by head or number, weight, or length, or volume. Okay? So this is a specific tax. So an example nito would be the taxes on the wines. Yan, sa mga liquors, fermented liquors. Yan. So they are being subject for the specific tax. Whereas they are being measured on the volume on the wines or on the liquid on the bottle. Okay, and we have the ad valorem. The ad valorem of a fixed proportion of the value of the property with respect to which the tax is assessed. Okay? needs an independent appraiser to determine its value. For the ad valorem, we can set as an example from this one is the real property. Okay, real property taxes because it is being appraised by our appraiser. Okay, for the value of the property. So, kung ano yung magiging value kasi nun, assessed value, so doon magbabase ng taxes na babayaran yung ating taxpayer. So, that is basically as the determination of amount. Okay, next one we have as to purpose. For the as to purpose, we have general, fiscal, or revenue. No particular purpose or object for which the revenue is raised, but is simply raised for whatever need may arise. Again, the collection of our taxes is for the general public. It is for the general purpose. Therefore, so ito yung ating collection ng taxes. Dito po magfo-fall. Pero kasi meron din tayong tinatawag na special or regulatory. Imposed for a specific or special purpose regardless of whether revenue is raised or not and is intended to achieve some social or economic end. Okay? Dito naman papasok yung mga custom duties natin for imported products. So, yun. So, they are collecting taxes for the imported products para gagamitin din nila doon sa ating mga imported goods. Okay? So, it is on a special purpose. Okay? Next, we have, yan, as to authority imposing the tax or scope. For the authority, we have two, the national and the municipal or local. Pagka sinabi nating national, it is imposed by the national government. Ano-ano ba yun? Ayun na nga yung mga national internal revenue taxes natin na binabayaran. So, ang nangongolekta niyan is si BIR o kaya si Bureau of Customs. No? For the municipal or local, it is imposed by the municipal government. Si munisipyo naman o kaya naman si City Hall or kaya si provincial, sila naman yung nangongolekta ng mga taxes na to. Ano ba yung example nito? Ang example nito, yung real property tax, o milyar na binabayaran natin para sa mga lupa natin. Ano pa? Yung kapag ka nagparehistro kayo ng business, we have the business permit, business license. So, yun. Yun yung mga example no municipal or local taxes natin. Okay? So, with regards to graduation or rate, ito yung kaninang sinasabi natin na proportional contribution. Yung proportional kasi, ibig sabihin nito, there is a fixed rate. Okay? A fixed percentage of the amount of property income or other basis to be taxed. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, kahit na lumaki, bumaba yung iyong income, fix yung percentage na babayaran mo. Okay? So, ang example nito, of course, we have the percentage tax. Ayan. So, 3% yun, no? Kung kahit na mataas yung income mo or meron lang tayong ceiling dyan na 3 million, no? Pagka 3 million and above, of course, subject na yan doon sa may value-added tax and that is 12%. So, yun. Fix yun. We have 3% and 12%. So, yun. That is proportional. Ito yung progressive. Yung progressive natin is the rate increases as the tax base increases. So, if you are earning a higher income, you will be paying for a higher tax. Okay? So, that is the progressive. Ang regressive naman, baliktad. Okay? The tax rate decreases as the tax base increases. Okay? Habang lumalaki yung income mo, bumababa naman yung tax rate. Okay? So, bumababa yung taxes mo habang tumataas yung income mo. Okay? So, that is regressive. Digressive naman, yung increase of rates is not proportionate to the increase of tax base. Okay? So, pwedeng mataas, mababa, kahit na yung income mo, pare-pareho lang. O kaya, yung income mo tumataas, pero yung tax mo bumababa, tumataas, bumababa. So, walang definite, no? So, yun yung tinatawag natin na digressive. No? It is not proportionate to the increase of the tax base. Ayan. So, that is based on the graduation or the tax rate. Okay? Okay. Next, we have now for the last topic for our discussion for today, we have the tax distinguished from other charges or fees. Okay. For this distinguishment, let's have this. Sabi, magkaiba ang importante sa priority. Okay? Maaaring importante ka sa kanya pero hindi ikaw ang priority. Iyon. So, Sabi, no, magkaiba daw talaga yung pagiging importante sa priority. Siyempre, pagka importante ka, di ba dapat priority ka? Kaya lang, meron siguro mga cases na hindi natin na prioritize. Okay? Siguro dahil nagmamadali or meron kang iniisip na iba, ganyan. So, pero, ano, dapat sana mas mahalaga yung importante. No? I mean, importante at priority ka nung isang tao. Okay? So, eto, i-relate natin dito kasi we are to distinguish. Okay? So, titignan natin yung differences. Halimbawa, ito, the taxes from license fee. Ang tax daw imposed for revenue purposes. Involves exercise of taxing power, has no limit. Imposed on persons, property, and rights to exercise privileges. Its non-payment does not make a business or act illegal. Okay, so that is taxes. While the license is imposed for regulatory purposes. Okay, involves exercise of power, police power, limited to cause of regulation, imposed only on the right to exercise privileges, its non-payment makes the act or business illegal. Okay? So there are 2 points that I want you to have on this. No? Taxes is for the general purpose and it is, sabi natin, on the power of taxation. That is one of the inherent power of the state. Okay? While the license is on the regulatory purposes and it is on the exercise of police power, okay? Maintaining the general welfare of our society. And the taxes, kahit hindi ka magbayad ng taxes natin, pwede nating sabihin na yung business mo is hindi pa illegal. Okay? Pero, syempre, meron nga mga taxes na dapat bayaran at si government, sisingilin yan, yung mga liabilities nyo. Okay? So, susulatan kayo dyan. And the license, so pagka hindi ka doon nagbayad ng license, yung business mo, automatic illegal na. Okay? So, that is the difference between tax and license. Next, we have, okay, from toll fee. Okay, gumagamit ba kayo ng mga expressway natin? Ayan. That is one good example, no? Toll fee. So, tax, a demand of sovereignty, is for the support of government. Its amount is regulated by necessities to government imposed only by the government. Okay? So, ang toll natin is demand of proprietorship, is a compensation for the use of another's property. Its amount is determined by cost of property is collected by the government or private entity. Okay? So, ang tax natin, sabi natin, it is kinokolekta ng gobyerno natin. While yung toll natin, ayan, kinokolekta yan ng mga ng mga proprietorship natin. Pwede daw private entity or pwede rin si government kasi minsan meron tayong mga ka-tie up or yung government natin nagta-tie up sa mga private entities, mga foreign private entities. So, nagbi-build sila ng mga bridges or ng mga expressway. And then, ayun, nag-implement sila ng mga toll na binabayaran. So, that is basically the difference between the tax and the toll. Okay? So, that is from toll fee. Next, we have from penalty. Sa penalty naman, so the tax aimed at raising revenue imposed only by the government. Ang penalty kasi, it is designated to regulate conduct imposed by the government and also by the private entities. Nakita nyo? Yung tax natin, government lang ang pwede mag-impose yan. Okay? Yung penalty natin, pwede lang din i-impose si government at pwede siyang i-impose ng private entities. Okay? Tandaan natin, ang tax, si government lang ang pwedeng mag-impose yan. Okay? Ang penalty, pwedeng si government, pwede din naman yung mga private entities natin. Okay? And we have from special assessment. On the special assessment, tax levied on person's property or exercise of privileges can be made on personal liability of the person assessed. Okay? Is based on government's necessity without any special benefit accruing to taxpayer is of general application. Okay? While the special assessment levied only on land. Okay? Nakita niyo yung differences ng una? So, yung tax natin, person's property or exercise of privileges. While the special assessment is on the property lang, specifically on land. Okay? Not a personal liability of person assessed, okay, is based on the special benefits resulting to property assessed and is exceptional as to time and place, not of general application. So that is the difference between the tax and the special assessment. Okay, so last we have, okay, from the revenue. By the way, second to the last. From the revenue, we have, ayan, no? Si revenue is broader than tax. Okay? Si revenue kasi, all funds or income derived from the taxes. Okay? Or otherwise, financial assistance from another government. So, donations from private individuals, commercial revenues like tolls, postage. So, ayan, no? So, gusto natin sabihin dito, yung taxes natin is part lang siya ng revenue. Okay? So, broader yung ating revenue. And as to custom duty, okay, tax, broader than custom duties and includes the latter. Okay? Custom duties, taxes levied upon commodities imported into or exported out of the country. Okay? So, sabi natin, yung tax natin is broader naman dun sa ating mga custom duties. Okay? Part lang yung mga custom duties ng ating taxes. Okay? So, that is basically the differences between the custom duties and the tax. And we have last, the debt. Okay, utang. Okay, tax is imposed by law, cannot be assigned, generally payable in money, not subject to set off, liable for imprisonment if not paid, is governed by special prescriptive periods under the tax code, while the debt arises from contact that is contract, can be assigned subject to set off, no imprisonment in case of non-payment thereof, is governed by prescriptive periods under the Civil Code and other special law. Okay? So dito, uh, gusto nating pakita dito is that yung taxes natin, you are liable to pay for the taxes. If not paid, you can be imprisoned. While on debt, so wala daw imprisonment just in case di natin mabayaran yung ating mga utang. Okay? And then, hindi daw pwedeng i-assign, okay, yung ating taxes. So, kung ikaw ang babayad nun, dapat ikaw yung magbayad at hindi natin pwedeng i-assign sa ibang tao. While yung debt, pwede nating i-assign sa iba or pwede mong pabayaran to. O kaya, meron ka mga co-maker or co-borrower, so sila yung pwedeng habulin. So, that ends my presentation. So, I hope that you do understand our topic for today. So, again, so please do like our page and subscribe ANJ Bookminders Tutorials. So again, this is Jeff Ryan Zibulendos. So this is Income and Business Taxation Tutorial.